And welcome back to the floor of Venture Atlanta. I'm Alex Gonzalez, Chief Innovation Officer at the Metro Atlanta Chamber here at the Atlanta Innovation Studio, powered by MailChimp. And it's just a lot of energy, a lot of dynamics. Schedules are all over the place, as it should be here, as people meet and greet. I'm thrilled to have here John Yates, Morris Benning Martin, but I'd like to say you are just one of the catalysts and connectors here in the innovation ecosystem. So John, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. And first of all, I just want to get your perspective, because this has kind of been a lead discussion point as I've had people on. Talk about this moment right now for startup and tech and innovation economy in Atlanta, because it feels different in a really good way than the last 5 years.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the Metro Atlanta Chamber and what you do. It's a great organization. I really see this as sort of a rejuvenation, almost a rebirth of our technology community. We've obviously had vibrancy in the past, but with the pandemic, I think there was a real concern about whether we'd be able to come back strong.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, just based upon the discussions I've had so far, there's an excitement and frankly a renewed interest in technology within our community.
Right.
And the other interesting fact is we're attracting a lot of people in from outside the region who want to come to Atlanta. And that's very important to us, and it's a really significant factor in our growth.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I know we've had with some founders, people like Fox Safety and LeaseQuery and CallRail on earlier, and they said one thing also that feels different now is that founders or CEOs at that level, companies of that near unicorn or unicorn status, that can give back. I mean, have you been seeing much of that?
We have, and it's interesting. The good thing about the community is for many, many years, it's been a give back community. But I think what's unique now is we see these companies grow, and not only are the entrepreneurs giving back, but also the funds that have put money in those companies are coming back and recirculating into the community.
Right.
So you get really a double impact. You get both the entrepreneurs who are here, maybe selling their company at some point and then making investments, but then the funds that invested in their companies are coming back in and putting more money at work here in Atlanta. So it's a great advantage for us.
Yeah. So you've been such a key part of the journey, but go back. So what are some of the kind of key moments that kind of catalyzed everything here in Atlanta? And it's funny, David Cummings' name keeps coming up, Paul Judge's name keeps coming up during our conversations. What are some kind of those key points that you've seen?
Well, I hate to necessarily point out my age, but I go back 40 years in this community, so 1981. And at that time, it predated Venture Atlanta, but we had a venture conference here in town. It was actually held just down the street at the Peachtree Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, we probably had about 100 people there total, and maybe we're lucky to have 5 venture capital funds there.
Oh, wow.
And so although there was an interest that was created, it was just very early on. And quite frankly, it was a much older group of folks too. So what we're seeing now, I think, has been this transformation, much more focused on how a business community and tech community can work together, but extremely important that these venture funds have come to town and they're really making an effort to be here as opposed to any place else.
And that also brings a collaboration we're seeing, probably more so now than ever, is the corporate aspect as well too, which, of course, you work and know many of the CEOs around town. Last night, they Engage at their huge event, just full of corporate innovators. And I think that collaboration, because without being prompted, and I promise we did not give those words to John, but that's just a consistent theme about collaboration as a secret sauce. But it seems like it's a secret for Atlanta and everything.
Well, what we've seen over the years, back in the day before technology, the business community here coalesced together around some very important issues. We're seeing the same thing in the technology community. We're seeing a lot of these entrepreneurs that have grown companies, built them, staying in the community, but then working with others and the groups working together. And then interestingly, even the folks with the money, the angel funds, the venture funds, the private equity funds, there's a lot of collaboration here.
Right.
I think we all know that we're going to get a lot more success if we work together rather than bickering. And we're also welcoming. We're bringing in a lot of funds from the California folks, from Silicon Valley, from Southern California, from Boston, New York, Chicago, and welcoming them to town too.
Right.
So it's a very vibrant time, and frankly, it's the most active time we've seen in 40 years.
And where do you see, before we wrap up here, where do you see this ecosystem in 5 or 10 years?
Well, the exciting thing we're seeing right now is a lot of these folks that are coming to Atlanta, maybe in some instances for the first time, both people with money and entrepreneurs are saying, I want to plant a flag here.
Right.
So in 4 to 5 years, I think we're going to see a lot more funds that are focused here. We're going to see a lot more angel groups that have grown. And I think we're going to attract a lot more attention internationally as well, as funds say, look, it's easy to get to Atlanta. Let's go there, see what's happening. We got Georgia Tech, we have the Metro Atlanta Chamber, we got a great infrastructure, and now it's just scaling, just like a tech company.
That's right. Right. Well, good. Well, John, thank you for everything you do. I know you've always represent the region well, right, on all your travels and here in Atlanta as well too. So thanks for everything you're doing.
It's my pleasure. Thank you and what the Chamber does.
Thanks everybody. And we're going to continue broadcasting live from the floor of Venture Atlanta. We'll be back in a few minutes again with Ryan Wilson and Mark Wilson.